Yo, it's with Marty, and welcome back to Marty Code. So, we're third video on the channel, and this is a video I've been wanting to do for a long time. Finally got to get to it, and so we're going to talk about today why you should not be a software engineer. So, a little background on myself: I graduated in 2020, so I'm working for 4 years as a professional software engineer, and it's been a blast. But there are some things I do want to warn you guys about, and probably why you shouldn't get into this career field. So this is to cut the fat out of the video. I want to get to the first thing on our list, and that is if you're not interested in a continuous learning, do not be a software engineer. There's always new languages, frameworks, APIs, and there's a bunch of different things that you have to learn on a monthly basis as a software engineer. That is pretty staggering. I mean, my last job, which is more private, I had to learn probably C#, SQL, React, JavaScript. There was a lot of different languages. I was only there for like 2 years. So when it comes to private, you have to learn a lot, and it can be overwhelming if you're not built for it. So if you're a person who loves learning, definitely keep going down the path. But if you're a person who does not like continuous learning and you want to make that big tech money, yeah, you might want to stay away. You might want to stay away from software engineering because you're going to go probably insane. Our second reason you shouldn't be a software engineer is if you're not detail oriented. Now, this got me in trouble a lot over my career because honestly, I'm a person who kind of skips over details sometimes. I don't know how I made it, but I'm here and I've gotten better at that. So now I'm way more detail oriented than I was when I started back in 2020 because it got me in trouble a lot at my first job. For example, I used to work with NASA. So I used to work with NASA. I was a contractor for them, and I was working with scientists. And so these scientists are very particular about their publications, which makes sense because it's a life work. Now, me being new to HTML, CSS, all this stuff, and just being not as detail oriented as I needed to be, I end up messing up one of the titles of their works and a last name. So when the scientists realized that, oh, he messed up my last name and my publication, he got upset. I mean, it's a point where your boy almost got let go. It was bad. And honestly, I understood why he was angry. I felt like he overreacted a little bit because it really was a simple fix. But, bygones be bygones. Everybody's entitled to how they feel about it. But the thing is, I could have avoided that whole situation if I would have went back over my work, make sure I got the requirements right, and actually completed the objective the right way. So make sure make sure before you really consider being a software engineer that you work on being detail oriented, because that is something you can work on, that's something you can progress. Because I've done it. I would not make the same mistake today like I did 4 years ago. Third reason I listen why you should not be a software engineer is if you cannot take criticism. Oh my God, man. This makes or breaks you truly as a professional, especially as a software engineer, because there's gonna be times where you do something and it just ain't it. And people are gonna tell you because when the customer sees it, they're gonna make a bigger fuss about it. So it's better to catch it before they see it, because if the customer sees it, that's the money and you might mess the money up. So I highly recommend, if you're a person who cannot take criticism, do not come into this field because you're gonna get cut out quick. Another story for this one. In school, I had a project with I almost said a coworker, a project with a teammate that was in my major, so in comp sci. We had to do a code project. Now, this guy was not a great coder, but we all really weren't that great at coders, but we had the learning potential to become better. And that's the main thing. Are you willing to learn and become better from the criticism? He was not. He was doing bad code. We were like, hey man, that's not how that's supposed to go. It doesn't work right. We want to do it a different way. And he just couldn't handle it. He crashed out and cost us a good bit of time that we could have spent working on that, trying to figure the situation out with him. So you can be a big hindrance to your team if you cannot take criticism. So stay away if you can't take criticism. But if you can, the door is open. All right, fourth reason on our list on why you should not be a software engineer is if you are a person who cannot sit down for long periods of time. Now, this hurt me physically and somewhat mentally a little bit. So as a software engineer, you'll be sitting down a lot during the day doing a lot of code. Now, personally, what helps me with this is getting a standing desk, as you see here, because I can jump around and stuff. And honestly, it helps me be way more active. And honestly, it has changed my health a good bit. I mean, before I was sitting down mostly during the day, then I would go work out, but I was still not being as active as I should have been during the day. And that's why I have workout clothes on now because we went to the gym after this. But health is wealth when you're a software engineer for sure. And honestly, if you're a person who needs to move around a lot during the day, this is going to be a hell career for you because you're going to be sitting down a lot doing code. Now, if you're at home, you can get a standing desk. And some companies do let you get a standing desk, but if you're at a company that wants you to stand a desk, you're kind of stuck. So definitely consider that before you go down this career path because you're gonna be sitting down a lot during the day. But just as a fix for people who like moving around during the day, try standing desk, see if you like it, and that might be able to help you, get over that. All right, so the last one on our list, which is probably the most important one, and I need you to listen to this. If you cannot manage priorities correctly, this job field is gonna hurt you. Now, what do I mean by that? And I do have a story for this. Let's get into the story. My first job, I was working with a scientist. Now, a lot of my mistakes have been with scientists for some reason. Shout out to the scientists. I don't know why I mess up with you guys so much, but it's true. I was working with a scientist, and he wanted me to, it always go back to this, update his website. Now, the thing is, this scientist was high ranking in the organization, or a high ranking customer, because I'm a contractor at that point, high ranking NASA guy, right? And he was like, I need you to update my website. I got people looking at it, XYZ. So at this point, I'm doing data input, doing the analytics, pandas, all this stuff, trying to get data in. We're working with the National Weather Service. I'm like, National Weather Service, random scientist, National Weather Service, data. I go with the data. I found out this guy pretty much went and aired my name out and was like, hey, I don't know what's taking so long. Why did he do this? XYZ, XYZ. And so my head's on the chopping block at that point because I didn't take him as a priority because I'm like, this is a data we work with every day that more people need. I would think this would be the priority, but I was wrong. Customer first, always. And so basically, if you're a person who can't really look at a bunch of tasks and be like, hey, this first. Another example, second job, we were working on a website. And so the customer wanted some things to be done, right? And so these things mostly were front end things. Now, you need the back end for those things to work. So I was like, let's work from the back to the front. Usually how I do these things, so they ain't connected. And so basically what I had done was I did the back end, did all the back end. They don't care about that though. They want to see the front end, which makes sense. People want to see the shiny buttons and toys and stuff like that. It's just how it goes. This is how it goes with working on front end and back end development. I'm sorry. And so basically they were like, you didn't do any work, XYZ. And I'm like, man, I did work. I thought, look at all this code. They're like, we don't know what that is. I'm like, that's true. You guys aren't techies. So yeah, that makes sense. You're not coders. But that was a valuable lesson on let's do what the customer can see first. And two, they also had some fixes they wanted to the UI that kind of got pushed towards the back because we felt the new features were more important. Now, that was also the lesson I learned. Sometimes it's good to go back and show them you're actually listening to their inputs and fixing certain things. So managing priorities is key. I've learned that. I'm not gonna lie. As a software engineer, I hit my head a lot. I honestly admit that. I don't mind admitting that on camera. I hit my head a lot, but I've also learned a lot. And that's the thing. You have to be learning to be good in this field. Now, I'm not the person who's gonna come over here and be like, yeah, man, I was ex-Google. I was perfect. I did everything right. I didn't. But honestly, I feel like it makes me better as a content creator, as a person trying to inform y'all, because I didn't do everything right. But I'm doing things better. And that's the point. That's what I want to get over to you guys. Do things better. And you can be like me. I make pretty good money. And so the main thing I implore to y'all, make sure you take these tips and really think about, can you get better at certain things that I've mentioned? Or are you good at certain things that I mentioned? Or are you just like, I'm good? That being said, that's pretty much the video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, man. I'm trying to get my Twitter back, popping. I'm trying to get my Twitter back popping. My gaming Twitter is doing way better than my tech Twitter right now, I'm not gonna lie. So help me out with that. Make sure you go with my TikTok. Help me get to 100 on TikTok, man. We really growing the platforms because originally I was doing gaming content. And so this is a new, venture for me. And honestly, I'm really enjoying it. So come back to the channel. We got more content coming. It's been your boy Marty Codes. Peace.